Greetings everyone, welcome back to Blade Bias. I spent a week with the Edit Lite, and this is what I learned. Quick disclaimer, Blade Bias, we don't do full reviews here, so take my experience with a grain of salt. This is only my first week with the product. A full review may come later on my main channel, but that remains to be seen. Now let's get into what I think about the Edit Lite, because this has been one of the most disruptive weeks that I have had in terms of ballad songs. I have another review that I'm evaluating for, and I am doing that. I'm carrying that with me every day. But this thing has snuck its way into my EDC bag every single day, and I always find myself flipping it absent-mindedly and just reaching for it, and it's really, really good. The Edit Lite was something that I expected to get, think, oh, that's pretty cool, make a few videos with, and then go right back to flipping my edit. Because the edit is heavier, it has the weights all throughout. It's, in my head, it was going to be better distributed, just going to be more interesting. And the Edit Lite was just going to be that sort of cheaper option, not as good, but still really good for the price, etc. And I could not have been more wrong about that assessment, because the Edit Lite might just compete with my top favorite spot in plastic with the tape flipper. For the first time, when I flip the Edit Lite and I go back to the tape flipper, I don't immediately think, oh no, I like the tape flipper better for sure. I have to stop and think about it for a second. And just that fact alone makes me realize how much I have enjoyed the Edit Lite. The distribution, the balance, the price, oh my god, the price, the customizability, it is all crazy good for the price. Now there are a few issues, and we will get into those, but first, I want to talk about the Tonto Blade really quickly, because the Tonto Blade that I got for my original edit, which has been fixed by this point, so all of the things that I'm about to say, I don't think apply to the Edit's Tonto Blade anymore. But the OG Edit Tonto Blade that I received, you remember I made a video on it, I did not like it. It made the thing very handle biased, it made it weird to flip, it made it uncomfortable, etc. I just wasn't a big fan. So, when I got the Tonto Blade for the Edit Lite, I was sort of expecting it to be the same story. I know Flip Forge said he changed it, but I was like, it'll be good. And it is. I think I was right about that. It's good. But I still like the Crescent Blade a little bit better. If I had to describe the Tonto Blade compared to the Crescent Blade, it's essentially just like a Prisma with and without its weights. The Crescent Blade is with weights, so it's a bit more handle biased, it carries momentum a bit better. Although the momentum, I will say, on the Edit Lite isn't changed by the Tonto Blade, which is really good. In fact, the Blade, I think, carries more momentum than the Crescent Blade, because you can see that there is a significantly more dense area of weights here. It's about this long compared to the Crescent Blade, that's about this long. So it's like 75%. And it's just a more focused area of weight, whereas the Crescent Blade is more distributed. So the blade on the Tonto Blade carries more momentum than the Crescent Blade does, which means that you're going to get a bit more blade bias, hence the Prisma without its weights comparison. If you go really fast, chaplains can kind of be like the Vulp, where they kind of get away from you if you go too fast. And rollovers can also do the same. But as long as you get used to it, it's actually pretty good. It fans really well. There's a few times where it interrupts your flow because you go a bit too fast, but that's probably just because, right there, probably because I'm just not terribly used to it yet. So if I had to describe the Tonto versus the Crescent, the Tonto is ever so slightly more blade biased, and the blade itself carries more momentum, which means you're going to have better performance for fanning, but you're going to have to be careful on your rollovers and your chaplains. There is also the slight problem that the Tonto Blade, I think, impacts the channel. If I press it in this far, you can feel it touch in there, which makes for an annoying slap sound, like a really annoying slap sound. Even this has like a deeper thud to it, whereas this is just like, it's all slap. So I am a bit concerned about maybe durability long term, but it's plastic. It's not like metal where it's going to dent and then make OV4 itself. So I'm sure it will be fine. But I do like the Crescent blade a little bit better. It is a bit more handle biased, which makes it actually really neutral when compared to like the Tay Flipper. And the Crescent blade, like I said, compares a lot more to the Tay Flipper in my eyes. It's well balanced, it's well distributed, and it flips really well. In fact, like I alluded to earlier, for the first time when I pick up the Tay Flipper, not with the Tonto Blade. With the Tonto Blade, I pick up the Tay Flipper and I immediately like the Tay Flipper better, which tells me that I like the Crescent blade more than the Tonto Blade, but that's neither here nor there. When I pick up the Crescent blade compared to the Tay Flipper, it's not just like an immediate, oh, Tay Flipper's better. I think they might tie for my top favorite plastic ballast songs right now. Okay, enough about the Tonto Blade. And they might tie, not the Tonto Blade, the Crescent blade might tie with this, which is why the rest of this video, anything that I'm talking about on the Edit Lite, will be referring to the Crescent blade install rather than the one that I'm currently flipping, which is the Tonto Blade. Slightly confusing, I know, but I'd rather not stop the video, spend 20 minutes putting this blade back on just to make that clear when I can just like say. So Crescent blade for the rest of the video. The Edit Lite is really good. It's well balanced, well distributed. The 2.7 ounces is nice. It still feels like an Edit, not quite as heavy, but still that feeling of like chunky and kind of weighty compared to other plastic flippers. The chunkiness does have a problem for me because, and we'll get into next video, with this thing lately, and this thing feels so good in the hands when you've only been flipping plastic for a little bit. With this thing, I've been experimenting a lot with choker fans. Let me see if I can actually do one here. There we go. And doing that, where you extend that little fan into the choker fan kind of thing that I do. Extend that out into an actual choker fan. I've also been doing this where you... Nope. Okay. I've also been doing this where you go fan into that and then catch it like a Z choker. So that's been pretty fun. Unfortunately, the Edit Lite is a bit too chunky for me to do any of that with. I struggle insanely with choker fans on this because of how big it is. That was actually a pretty good one. But it's just so big and my hands are so small and it doesn't really vibe well with my hands, which I really don't think is a bad thing. I don't think that is something to run back to Flip Forge and say, oh, you got to change this. It makes it unique, and I think the chunkiness is a part of why I like it so much. But just know that if you have smaller hands, then things where you are putting the handles in between some of your less coordinated fingers might be a bit harder because of the chunkiness. And then there's also, like, durability is okay. It's not the best. I will give credit where credit is due. My Edit still has a crack in it, and I have been dropping it onto concrete, and nothing else has happened. But what does concern me is you can see here, I dropped it onto concrete, and it essentially took a giant chunk out of the end of the handle. So I don't even know if you guys can see that. Right here, it took a giant chunk out of the handle. So it does make me slightly concerned about durability, but nothing too crazy. I think it's more just the layers of printing coming off when you drop it on concrete more than anything. I have not beat this thing terribly yet. Like I said, I've been focusing on reviewing another ballast song. But I will put this thing through its paces very soon and report back if anything happens. As long as well as just like overall what? No. Like to be fair, most of the complaints that I had with the Edit, like the handle gap, the T10 compared to the T8, the shakiness of the balance are pretty much fixed. Oh yeah, the depth of this surface texturing is pretty much fixed on the Edit Lite. The surface texture is much deeper and you can feel it a lot better. There's no end screws to worry about, so there's no T10 anomaly. The overall like weight and balance of it feels a lot more distributed and neutral rather than the kind of weird shakiness of the Edit. It's just like, it's a really, really good experience. I really like the Edit Lite. It might be my new favorite plastic balisong, but I think more accurately, it ties for me with the Tay Flipper, which is an extreme feat because I have yet to try a plastic balisong that even touches the Tay Flipper for me. The Calico did when I first got it, but once the newness of the Calico wore off, I realized, no, the Tay Flipper really does fit my preferences a bit more. And yeah, I don't know what else to say. Oh boy, I really like the Edit Lite. How did that happen? I just whacked I pulled a Wilhurst flips, and also the camera angle is probably all screwed up. So let me fix that really quick. Oh no, it's still good. Okay. So yeah, anyway, the Edit Lite is super sick. Oh, the price. I didn't even get into the price. This is every time I flip it, whenever you flip a balisong, a number pops into your head, or at least it does for me. And that number is, what do I feel like I'm flipping right now, with all factors included. For the Arctic, I mean, I know the Arctic is $120, so the Arctic feels like an $120 balisong. But it also kind of feels like more. If I had to value the Arctic, kind of feels like an $150 balisong. The Edit Lite, every time I flip it, $80 comes into my head. And I think that's because I'm thinking of the price of the Edit. The Edit's like $75, and then you get the texturing, and it comes out to like $80 or $85. This thing is $50. Not only cheaper than a Squiddy B, but $5 more expensive than an OG Squiddy, and infinitely better than an OG Squiddy because it's actually flippable. I'm sorry, I really don't like the OG Squiddy anymore, in case you couldn't tell. It's just like, it's really, really good. And for $50, this is a hell of a flipping experience. Sure, it's 3D printed. Say what you want about 3D printed balisongs. I know so many people do. In fact, I've seen people say that the glow mod is better because the glow mod is actually worth its price. This is one of the best priced plastic balisongs out there because I know you can get a calico, a black calico for like $55, but that's without any customization. $50 is with all the customization, colors, speed channels, jimping, surface design. Like it goes hard. It goes really, really hard for the price that they have it positioned at. And I really, really like it. So the Edit Lite has not only become, do I like it better than the Edit? I think so, actually. And it has not only become a balisong that I originally thought was just going to be sitting in my case because I like the Edit better. It's gone to one of my favorite spots in the plastic hierarchy of balisongs, which is really impressive. So Flip Forge, thank you not only for sending this out for me to test out, but also good job. Because damn, I like this thing a lot. A lot. If you had to ask me, though, get the Crescent Blade. The Crescent Blade just flips a little better, although the Tonto Blade's fun. If you want fun, get the Tonto Blade. It's a bit more blade bias. Like, it's just fun. But, like, flipping performance-wise, Crescent Blade is where it is at. So, yeah, I think that pretty much sums up my thoughts on the Edit Lite. This pink is really nice as well. But, yeah, I think that pretty much sums up my thoughts on this thing. It's really good for the price. If you want a plastic flipper, go check this thing out. But also go check out all the other plastic flippers because the competition is heating up. Calico, Cycloid V2, Squiddies, etc. It's a really exciting time for plastic. Anyway, that was my week with the Edit V2, not the Edit V2, the Flip Forge Edit Lite. Very surprising, very addicting, and very fun. Thank you all for watching. And I'll see you all in the next one. Later.